spooky season.
Ooh.
Spooky Sarah's coming out.
I know. How fitting is that? So we're talking about everything spooky, Halloween, and costumes, and things you fear, and just getting real into it. Sarah, I want to know, because you still do like Halloween parties and dress up as an adult.
Yes, I do.
I will if there's a party, but otherwise it just depends. Okay, so do you have a costume already lined up?
Yeah, I work in a middle school, so this also kind of is why I'm dressing up. But as you guys may or may not know, I got a kitten this year, and I always told myself that if I got a black cat, I would name her or him Salem, after Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So this year I'm going as Sabrina, and I'm going to take a picture with Salem. I'm going to be the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina version, just because I feel like she's more modern and more people know her. But yeah, I'm really excited.
That's fun.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's a really good choice.
I liked our costumes last year. Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, when there's parties involved, like, I feel like then it's like, all right, we got to go all out.
And we always coordinate.
But you're always crafty, though.
I do. I like to dress up, and my kids' birthdays are both around Halloween, so we always have costume parties for their birthdays, and then, of course, there's Halloween. So Charlie gets 3 a year. She gets to be whatever she's going to be on Jimmy's birthday, whatever she's going to be for Halloween, and whatever she's going to be for her birthday. But last year, we went as bad Disney princesses.
It sparked me shifting over to red hair.
Is that what it was?
That was a huge part of it. Because I was a Little Mermaid.
Uh-huh.
And when I had that red wig on, I was like, I kind of think this looks cute. Like, I like this.
And it totally did.
Mm-hmm. And then I was like, you know what? It's the pandemic. Like, let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
but that was funny though, because it wasn't just Disney princesses; it was bad Disney princesses.
Bad Disney. Yeah, we had we'd been arrested.
Yeah. Oh. So mine was because I had stolen stuff, because Ariel steals things. And
yep. And mine was breaking. I was Snow White.
Oh yeah.
Breaking and entering.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love the idea of Sabrina the Teenage Witch though. Like those were like when TV was like so good.
One of my favorite childhood TV shows. I used to watch that every morning before school. I'd eat my Pop-Tarts and watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That and Sister Sister. Love Sister Sister.
It was Saved by the Bell for me.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one too.
That's a great one. It's on Netflix.
My favorite Halloween costume that I've ever had was the picture of The Rock from the 90s where he has that fanny pack and he's just like, I don't know if you guys know.
I know the picture.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
My favorite thing about this picture that I have of me as The Rock is that Cassie, when we first started the podcast, kept using that as my picture for things, and it was taken in a bar. So, like, I look really orange if you just take me out of the picture, and she kept doing that.
But she had like a black shirt on, so it was like, you couldn't tell because she had like a black shirt on. So I was like, oh, look, Sarah's very and very emo-y and whatnot. Like, this is perfect. And she's like, that was a Halloween costume.
I think I said something about, like, please don't put The Rock in our podcast.
And I still didn't get it. You're like, please don't put The Rock. Don't use the picture of The Rock. And I was like, I don't know. But I use this picture. And you're like, I know. That's the same one. That was a really good one. That was good. Fun. There's been years I've been like Tinkerbell. And I
was there for that.
Yeah. That was and glitter everywhere.
Oh, Tooth Fairies.
Of course.
We were fairies. We were rock stars one year.
Uh-huh.
Or backup singers.
Punk rockers.
Yeah. I think every year we leave a trail of glitter.
Why would you
not? We go. Anywhere, anywhere we walk, anyone that touches us or comes in the vicinity of us.
Glitter.
That's just Cassie.
Yeah.
She does that everywhere, all the time.
And it's funny, when I was like thinking about what my favorite costumes were, they were so not glitz and glam. And I'm thinking like recently, I always make Dustin dress up with me. And before we got married, we went to a Halloween party and we dressed as super fans from SNL. I was Chris Farley.
Oh my God.
And I just shoved pillows in my shirt and drew a mustache on my face.
I haven't seen this picture, I don't think.
I'll find it for you.
You have to.
And Dustin just grew a mustache. And it was like, you gotta shave that. We can't keep that around. And then the other one was, he's a big Monty Python fan. So from the Holy Grail, he was the Black Knight, and I was the woman that they tried to try as a witch. Have you guys seen the movie? They strap a turnip to her face. She has a witch nose. So I did that. I got a turnip for my nose, and they put a hat on her. Like, see, she's wearing a hat like a witch. So that's what we went as. And it was, so many people were like, what are you? But the people that get it. And I kind of like that.
Yeah. Andrea, what about you?
Oh, well, where do I begin? First time I did Halloween, I was Morticia because I had super long hair
I love
to
Morticia.
match. I literally matched my outfit. Then I remember being the Chiquita banana lady.
Oh.
And I have pictures, and I won second prize in Halloween. Almost won first prize, but Medea, come on,
my
she ruined
gosh.
it. Come on, Medea.
You should have got first.
I should have got first. Then dressed up as Annabelle. That was my favorite.
The scary one.
The scary Annabelle. That was my favorite one. Went to work with that.
Where did you work at the time?
Caterpillar. I was working at Caterpillar, dressed up, and was the only one in the whole factory wearing the Annabelle costume. But I pretty much, everyone was like, "That's so cool." So I have pictures of that too. Then when I was working at Kohl's, I did Mary Poppins. Last year I was the Saw. I went mainstream last year. So I love dressing up.
And I like that you do scary ones.
I know. I do. It's whatever mood I'm in for. What's funny though is whatever I can put together in my closet, so I don't have to buy stuff. All I have to do is makeup. So I try to
crafty.
Yeah. So I try to, like, if I have an outfit and I can fit it into that personality or something, I'll just throw it out, and that's my costume. So I'm all about dressing up for Halloween. I have a kid that loves Halloween.
Oh my gosh, both
there.
of your kids are like this.
Yep.
Jesse and Andrea's kids are both wildly obsessed with Halloween.
I can't blame them.
It just,
I know. Dustin likes it better than Christmas too. It's his favorite holiday.
It's my favorite holiday too. Yeah.
Mine's like really closely
I can
tied with
remember when
Christmas.
Charlie was a little bitty, and we would go to the Halloween store just to like kill time and stuff like that. And there was always, I don't know if that's PC to even say, but that's what they were. They were dead babies. They were like, like
zombie babies.
Zombie babies. There you
Well,
go.
she called him Queepy Baby.
Queepy babies.
Yep.
And she wanted a Queepy baby.
Yep.
Like,
It popped up in our memories the other day of her going into the Halloween store and seeing them, and she's like, "Oh, baby!"
yes,
It's
she was
like,
thought
it's
they were
Christmas
so cute.
for them, though. That's their thing. They just love it. It's like
so much.
I think last year, every day we went to the Halloween store.
We haven't been yet.
Every day. We've only went once, and I think because they've moved the location, it's a little further. And it's not as bigger than it usually is.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really any interest of going every day. But last year was pretty fun, and I love it.
Same.
I do. And then I dress my house up for Halloween. This year I do planning on, because my in-laws, my brother-in-law lives at the back of my house, and they can see Talia's toy room. So this year, hopefully they don't listen to this podcast, or it's a little later because my plans are gonna fail, but I really plan on like putting a scary mask by the window and just prop it up, because they did made a comment about one of Talia's Elsa picture was looking a little weird, and it did.
Really?
Because when the house went on sale prior to them purchasing it, they took pictures of the back, and we can see our house, and there was this image of this Elsa, and it was just the creepiest thing. So now in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to get them. I will scare you. I will do anything just to scare you. So I have big plans for that, and I'm excited.
What are you going to do if you give him a heart attack?
You know what? It is what it is. Don't look at my
Everybody's
house.
got to go.
Everybody
You gotta
dies of
go.
something.
You have to go someday.
That's
I didn't
true.
tell you to look in my yard. I didn't tell you to look at my house.
Okay, so you're not going to do it to their house. It's going to be in
In
your
my
house, in her
but
little play
it
area.
will,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
It
So,
will freak them
yeah.
out,
So then
you
ultimately
know?
it's not your
like,
fault.
you can glance your eye and it's gonna what is that?
I pulled
know?
up at Dollar General the other day, at the same time as this lady. And so we're like, I pulled up facing the building. She pulled up perpendicular to it. And I got out, and there's Reagan from The Exorcist in the back of her car. Andrea's delighted. She's going to do this. Sitting there, facing, and just open-mouthed horror. And she's just sitting in the driver's seat, like, sending a text message. And I'm like, what in the fuck is going on? Oh, it's a doll. It's a doll that's just riding around. But it's like, ooh, it's September 15th. It's time for some spooky shit. So, yeah.
I love scary. I know I get scared too. I mean, Stephen and Talia's been scaring me. I'm okay with that. It's fun.
It's fun.
I've done it to my in-laws when they're out of town and I'm house sitting. I literally put a scary stuff by their front door, so when they not in the front door but inside the house, so when you come in, that's the first thing you're gonna see. And I use a vacuum to help me build the height. So they were not impressed with me at all. But
So have you always been obsessed with scary stuff?
yes, I have. And I think partially because I grew up in that environment of superstitious belief.
Okay.
So I'm kind of used to it. But if I actually had to see a ghost, I think I'd shit myself because I really don't play around with that.
And there it is.
And there it is.
And there it is.
You know?
At least
But
once an episode, someone has to bring up poop.
I know.
I don't get
And
it.
it has
We
to be
can't-
me and poop. So.
We can't leave poop at the door this time.
Cannot leave.
We can. We can, though.
We can leave poop.
You know, I do think maybe you are right that it like depends on your upbringing, because I didn't convert to Catholicism until I was in college, but my grandma grew up Catholic. Like, so she just wasn't practicing. So for us, I see our similarities in how we celebrate the holiday much more like how the Hispanic culture does with like Day of the Dead. I've never been one, and I think it's just because of the way I was raised. I was never one into like spooky, scary, murder, serial killer stuff.
I love it.
Me too.
Like when I think of Halloween, that's not what I think of. But so many people, that is what they think of.
I started watching ghost shows with my mom when I was like 7, 8. We'd just sit on the couch like every Friday, Saturday night. We'd turn the lights off and we'd watch like Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures. And now I watch like Ghost Hunters and it's just funny. But my favorite is BuzzFeed Unsolved. They're ending that, sadly. But
Do you remember Ghost Rider on
Yeah.
Yeah.
what was it? PBS?
Was it?
Yeah. But ghosts to me that's a spooky thing. What about little kids? Okay, as a little kid, what were some of your favorite things? Did you have a choice, or did your parents or your mom or whomever just dress you up?
You know what's a bummer about being a little kid at Halloween? You
Tell
get this cool ass costume, and then it's 40 degrees when it's time to go trick or treating, and you're just another kid in a winter coat for Halloween.
You set that up perfectly. Literally, that's why I hated Halloween, because now as an adult, I get to be the cute, pretty, sexy costumes that I wanted to be at age 8.
you wanted to be
Wanted to
I
be
did.
Malibu Barbie in her
I wanted to
bikini.
be. I did. I wanted to
Princess
be
Jasmine with
Princess
her.
Jasmine. I wanted to be cute Dorothy. I didn't want to wear brown teddy bear colored leggings underneath my Wizard of Oz things. And so I literally can remember I don't have a lot of memories as a child. Like they come and go. But I can remember being at preschool and having like the coolest like princessy angel costume. And of course it's 40 degrees, but nobody else was wearing their coats. Like everybody else was just gonna make the loop outside the parking lot so all the parents could see. And then you went back into the classroom, and that's what I wanted to do. But nope, not Jodie Pfeiffer's child. So, put on your coat and put on your hood, and then try to stuff your pink sausage self, because it was this bright pink coat and it's poofy, and I looked just like a big huge sausage. And then it was like, oh, just throw your angel costume over it and it's fine.
Do you have pictures of that?
I do somewhat. I know I posted it one time.
Pictures.
Yeah.
I know I posted one time. I'm sure it'll probably come up during like this time of year on my Facebook memories. But I remember being so pissed and disgruntled that whole time. Like I could have been the cutest little angel, and instead, and then I had my hood on. Like my hood was tied. I'm like, Angels don't wear hoods. This is so dumb. I'm still mad to this day.
I can tell.
Oh, it's so aggravating. So when Jack tells me there has been times that we have had cold times, I bite my tongue. I'm like, I'm never like put a coat on underneath. I'm like, you know what? I get it, dude. You
Natural consequences.
Yeah, you want to be cool.
Yep.
I get it. I did too.
Yep. Yep.
So
I was a boring child, and I just wanted to be Dorothy from Wizard of Oz every year because I was obsessed with it. But I remember 6th grade year, my mother apparently hated me that year, and she chose my costume for me and decided that I would go as a bubble bath. And
What?
it sounds cute. It sounds cute, but it is so embarrassing. I had a sweatsuit, and we tied balloons to it.
Aww.
And like, that's my first year of middle school. You gotta be cool.
Yeah, something
So here
cool.
I am walking around Blue Mound, Illinois, a town of 1,200 where everybody knows everybody, in like a bath, hair cap, and a little soap thing on a stick.
She thought she was really crafty though.
She really
Yeah.
did. She was so proud of it. She was like,
She
you know
was
what you should be
trying.
this year? A bubble bath. And she hyped it up,
Aw.
and she thought it was the coolest thing. And so I thought it was the coolest thing. And I have pictures. Don't you worry. There's a picture of me just holding up the bath thing, just smiling in my living room, and it was just, I looked miserable.
Oh, this is my kids in 20 years. They're
Oh.
like, Mom made me
Yeah.
dress up as a porg. Mom made me
As
be
a
baby
what?
Groot.
Porg?
Yeah, from Star Wars.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, not movies. I mean,
What
Wizard of
about
Oz.
you,
That's
Jess? Did you-
I thought so. I was obsessed with treasure trolls.
it.
So I was a treasure troll one year, which what that consisted of was a nude colored sweatsuit with a jewel glued to my belly button and a mask.
Do you think this is why you love colored hair now?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, trolls were like our jam when we were growing
best
up.
hair.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. But yeah, that was me walking around in an outfit that made me look naked
Can you imagine how fun?
in a big mask. And that mask lived at my house for a long time.
Yes.
And it was the neighbor kids. They were a little bit younger than us. Were terrified of it. It was so scary. So that would be the thing that we would take out. Or it's like we're playing hide and seek and someone would put it on.
Those plastic masks were like a thing. That's what like every costume came with.
But this one was rubbery. So it was like real
so like
flesh.
real. Yeah. I can remember one time going to a high school party and everybody was dressing up, you know? So I was like, man, and they were gonna, the thing was that they said, oh, we're gonna pick like the best dressed. So I was like, let's go all out. So my mom helped me and she helped me be a scarecrow and she painted my face. Okay. And at some point in the evening, I forgot that I look like a scarecrow. Keep that in mind.
Were you flirting?
So I have like cute jeans on, I have a flannel on, but like the rest of the costume I had like the straw that I had put like in my pockets I took out. But again, my face still looks like a scarecrow. And I wasn't so much like, but this kid was hardcore flirting with me. And then at one point when we're standing next to the bonfire, makes out with me.
Against her will, makes out with her.
Not against
you make
her
it
will.
sound like it was an
No.
attack.
Think about it. It was not an attack.
He was the one that could see your face. That's the point you're making.
The point is that he could see my face all night. He could tell he was making out with a scarecrow.
But guys, listen. If you've never seen Cassie in real life, she's so hot that nobody cared.
Oh my God.
He was like, if the only chance I have is when she's dressed as a scarecrow.
It's the nose.
He had to seize the
now.
moment. He had to seize the moment.
I don't even know what was. Man, at one point in the evening, I went to the bathroom and I've never laughed and cried like Laffy cried so hard. I'm like, this dude just made out with me, and my face looks like this. I can't even
Maybe it's a
imagine.
fetish.
Maybe it was.
Oh,
Maybe that's what it was.
Like, I thought Cassie Pfeiffer could not get any hotter. And here she is in front of me as a scarecrow.
Yeah, he was like popping Benadryl from all of the
to make him last longer.
No. Jesse, no, from all of the straw that I had on my, like, stuffed in my pockets. And, like, he was allergic and he still made out with me as a scarecrow.
That's dedication right there.
Wow. Yeah. And then I ghosted him.
And then he
after
wasn't.
that.
And then he wasn't your first
And
husband.
I was like,
Damn it.
I'm like, nah, you're
No, okay.
never talk to him again. That was it.
If he doesn't want me as a scarecrow, I don't want
He
him.
doesn't get me as a hot chick.
Exactly.
You don't want me.
You would think it would be the reverse. Like, oh, well, he made out with me looking like a scarecrow. He's got to be a good guy. And I'm sure he is a nice guy, but I was like, nah.
Do you think he tells people that? You know, when we
I
talk about like embarrassing stories of like people we've made out with and stuff, do you think he uses that? Like one time I made out with a scarecrow.
I truly think about stuff like that. Like, I joke about like things like that, like, don't bother me. Like, I would tell on myself, like, funny stuff like that. But I don't know whether it's shameful to him. Probably not. I think I'm going to go with Jesse, that it was just, he was real into
Wherever he is, hope he's listening.
I hope he's not.
We know where he is.
Oh,
We do. Yeah.
Somewhere in a
There's a reason we're not-
cornfield.
Somewhere in the cornfield.
He who shall not be. Andrea, did you dress up as a kid?
So
And also, if you did dress up as a kid, did you make out with anyone while in costume?
no, unfortunately, no. I kind of wish I did. So we don't celebrate Halloween in Guyana. So I think until I came to the United States, that's when I start celebrating Halloween.
Not even Day of
And
the Dead down there?
Not of the Day of the Dead. It's already scary as it is.
Everything
And
in life is so scary.
so scary down there. It's not even a joke.
You're
I'll
not
tell
doing much
you-
for tourism for
I'm
Guyana
sorry.
right now.
I'm sorry. If you're into spooky stuff, you need to go to Guyana. Like, just the ominous feeling of driving by a cemetery. It's just, oh my gosh. I'm just, can't even imagine. And then they do a lot of rituals, a lot of witchcraft.
That's what I knew.
That's
I
what- yeah,
think
there's
that's
a
why
lot
I
of
kind of assumed that there was
witchcraft.
some kind of connection like that. But yes,
Yeah.
there's tons of.
We call it Obeaism.
Well, I also watched Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
So you know everything.
So they had witches
It's worse
on that movie?
It's a little worse. It's not the memories that I have of it. It's not pleasant because you hear on Saturday night Africans drums. It's kind of like beating and people chanting, and you can hear animals screaming, and you know automatically what it is.
They're getting
I'm gonna
sacrificed.
cry.
They're being sacrificed. There's a sacrifice being made. And
cry.
so, growing up, it's always that it's tense. It's just tense.
What kind of animals? Like frogs?
I haven't-
No,
I have a new thing to put on my list of fears.
chickens. Yeah, just goats and chickens, and it's just a different atmosphere. It's a beautiful country. When it comes to certain things like that, being very superstitious, there's a lot of things goes on that you wouldn't believe it. You just have to live it to understand it. And I know some people are like, oh, she's just making stuff up. Well, why not take a trip down in Guyana or any Caribbean country? You'll understand. But you have to realize that long time ago, there was slavery. There's a lot of rituals. Before the British took over Guyana, there were the Dutch. There's a lot of Dutch rituals, that things buried that people find that you don't want to bring back
Amish
up.
Dutch? Like Amish witchcraft?
No, these are like
Oh, yeah, that's
the
some heavy
Dutch. Yeah, these are
Is that a real
it's
thing?
very heavy. And as I'm speaking to you, the hairs on my skin is kind of growing. I just don't like. There's always a tree, and it says like every year there's gonna be an accident by that tree because it's meant to take a life.
Stay the fuck away from
And
the tree.
You stay, but you can't because that's the only way to go home. It's up on in Guyana. It's the West Coast.
What's the name of this movie?
I can't remember. I'll
Wait,
have
this
to
is
look
not
it
a
up.
movie. This is real life.
This is real life. They say it bleeds blood, and we're talking about things like, I'm speaking of things like people are like, oh, she's crazy, she don't know.
I don't think
You
any of us
just-
think that at
No.
all, ever.
No.
I'm just gonna tell you right now. When
Yes.
you and your mom tell me stories, I'm always like, oh my Lord. And like
Yeah.
then it gives me something to ask Siri about later.
Yeah, like we don't mess around. Like we just don't mess around with ghost stuff. We know, like today, yeah, I'll pass it off because I'm so busy focusing on life, I forget those things in the past and from my home country. But if I'm down there, it comes back as memories and the fear of it and knowing things. And if you're messing with burial things, it's just the wrong way to approach because it messes with your life. Things happen.
So don't dig up bodies.
So don't dig up bodies, don't dig up treasure, just let it remain there. And I'm not, I mean, we were talking about Halloween and fear and dressing up. We just don't mess with stuff like that.
So you don't stand in front of the mirror and say Bloody Mary
We
3
don't
times.
do that
I don't want to do that either.
because, and I've had in my household, we've had experience where cups were moving. We just had a death in the family. Cups are moving, knocking on the door, and we know what it is. We've seen people possess. We've seen, yeah, it's just that it's a whole different world. It's a whole different feeling. And again, it's a lot of rituals. And if you truly believe in stuff, that stuff, you'll see it happening. And so I laugh about it, but sometimes I'm serious. There's certain things, like if you come and tell me, I know there's non-believers with paranormal, but if you had to say, okay, Sarah, you come up to me and say, you know, there's stuff happening in my house, I will believe you because I've been through that experience and I know what it does exist.
That's the scary part for me, is like seeing things like that happen. My husband, a man of science, is like, ghosts aren't real, blah blah blah. But when we moved into our house in Decatur, I was like, I feel good. I feel like this house isn't haunted. Like if we were going to live in a haunted house, we'd have to move. Like, I don't care. We got to get out of it. And I said, I didn't feel like our Sullivan house was haunted. And he was like, you kidding me? The place was definitely haunted. And he said he always heard footsteps when he was down in the basement. He could hear walking around upstairs. So then I was like, why didn't you ever tell me? He's like, because of what you literally just said. You would have made us move. So of course I didn't tell you. So then Jimmy, when he first started walking and talking, would walk into our pantry and point up high above the cabinets and say, Guy. Guy. And I was like, what is he? He's pointing at my wine fridge. So like there's not a guy up there. It's the wine fridge. And I talked to one of our friends that's a medium about it, and she was like, it's someone named Kevin. It's a guy. It's his uncle. I was like, well, Jimmy's uncle is named Dylan, and he's alive, so that's not it. She said, no, he's saying it's Uncle Kevin. I think he's saying Kevin. Well, this was like 2 months after Dustin's Uncle Melvin died. And I was like, holy shit, could he be saying Melvin? She goes, yeah, he's trying really hard. I'm having a hard time understanding him. He's clearly new at this. She was like, whoever it is new at this. Like, he's not communicating well with me. And she said he's got a mustache and glasses. And I sent her a recent picture of Melvin. And she goes, it's him, but he's like 40 years younger. So his spirit is a young man.
Yeah.
They say you enter heaven really young,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say,
the spiritual realm.
yeah. Well, Jack kind of did something similar at the Sullivan house, and there would be times that he wouldn't come downstairs, and he would always say that there was a really grumpy guy in the foyer. It was always the foyer, or Mom, the grumpy guy is outside. He wants to come inside.
And you guys built your house, so you'd think, oh, this house isn't haunted. We
The
built
land.
it.
Right, we built it.
Oh, the land.
But
built.
where
The
did
land,
you build it?
right in the middle of
on
a cornfield, which
yeah.
who knows was what before, you know,
Right.
hundreds of years ago.
Indigenous people's burial ground.
Yes.
Mm.
And I finally just would tell Jack that. I was like, well, just tell him that we are not grumpy here. So if he comes into the house, he needs to be nice. And otherwise, he needs to stay outside. But there would be times that Jack would sit at the top of the stairs and he'd be like, Mom. So I'd be like, what? Come downstairs and don't yell at me. He's like, I can't come downstairs. The grumpy man's standing at the bottom of the stairs. And I'm like, oh, okay. And things like that don't spook me. I do believe in that. I do feel like that maybe some people's souls are in limbo or something, and I think there is a very thin veil. But having your kid talk about it.
And kids can see things.
Yes.
They're easily manipulated.
Yes, and they're so much more open to it. Like, as adults, we just get jaded.
Yeah,
We
we're
write it
programmed
off.
out of it.
Yeah.
Yep, and kids aren't. They still believe everything is possible. So when they see something, I feel like our brains, for self-preservation, we go,
Believe in science.
I must have left that on the counter.
Yeah.
I must have whatever, because that is the safe place to be, is that, like, I'm forgetful, not there's something in my house moving shit around.
Well, even just the other day when Jack went to his dad's for the weekend, and we took Dennis, the puppy, with us because Jack's little sister loves Dennis, and like he's such a little fur ball. And Jack deliberately brought his black chain with him. And so I get back home later that night. I go to take the dogs for a walk. I can't find the black leash anywhere. So I texted Jack and was like, hey, could you think about where, like, maybe, do you think it fell out? Could you look in your dad's truck? Did you take it with you to your dad's house? Nowhere. Can't be found. So I dug around and I found something else. So I walked the dogs. Okay, fine. Fast forward. The next morning, I go to walk the dogs, and Dennis has an area right at the bottom of the stairs, and that is where we say you sit at your spot and you get your leash on. And I come downstairs kind of groggy, and I stopped because PJ's leash is sitting at that black leash that I couldn't find is sitting at the bottom of the stairs. So I called Jack and I'm like, are you sure that you brought the leash? And he's like, yeah. He's like, do you remember me like talking about it? I did not put that leash there. I didn't have the leash there for the night walk. I'm like, okay.
See, you have a helpful poltergeist.
I do. So then I'm like, thanks, whoever brought me that.
Yep.
But that, I never feel weird being at the house by myself and living by myself.
Oh.
Until that moment, I was like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, don't ever ask me to dog sit again.
I thought about that. I'm like, this is the reason that, like, Sara gets spooked whenever.
I do get spooked at your house.
I don't get it.
It's only at night, though. I never get spooked during the day. There's just something. It's not a creepy house, so you would think it's pretty open.
It's
pretty
light.
nice.
It's
Yes.
very airy.
Yeah, but no, at night there's something. I remember one time. This is when I was dating my ex, and I was dog sitting for Cassie. This is probably back in like March or something. I had accidentally left the garage door open, and there's like a door that goes into the garage that's, the house. And I heard something, I think upstairs. And so I called him, and I was like, he lives like down the street. So I called him, I was like, you need to get over here right now. I'm here alone, and Gus is old, so he can't defend me. Like, I don't know what to do, but I just heard something, and he came over. He checked the house. He brought his gun. Like, he was prepared. He checked the entire house. He was like, well, there's nothing. I'm going to go now. And I was like, no, you're staying.
The hell you are.
At least wait till I leave.
Not to spook Cassie, but for those who doesn't know, my mom is Cassie's housekeeper. And my mom did mention that she felt a weird presence at your house. She told me a couple of times. And she would say, whatever it is heavy. And so we don't talk about this,
right,
but I think you talked to Mom about it.
I did talk to her about it. And I actually had a lady come that is a friend of Jesse's that came and did like a clearing of the like energy and saged it and stuff. And I was like, whatever you want to do, like, I'm open to it. Like, if you, if you tell me that you gotta, take a panda bear and set its paws on fire to clear the spirit out, let's do this.
I think
WWF is about to come down on our podcast.
I think at the end of the day, we all have
I said stuffed panda.
Yeah.
Let's just clarify.
At
Not
the
a
end
real
of-
panda, of course.
At the end of the day, we're sitting on burials. We could have a haunted house or not a haunted house. But I'm just saying, if you're going to haunt my house, you better do some cleaning or cooking. That's all. That's all you're
finding
gonna do.
the dog leashes you lose.
Find a dog leash. Be productive.
Do the dishes.
Don't
I'm
try
so
to
tired
scare
of
me.
them.
Do the dishes. Cook a nice meal. And you can stay in my home forever. But if you're gonna be, trying to spook me, scare me, or hurt my family, then we have a problem, and you have to leave. End of story.
We have a helpful poltergeist at my house, too. Dustin lost his school ID. He, air quotes, looked everywhere for it. And looked and looked and looked. And then one day he's like, I have an exam. I have to find my school ID. We can't, no more jacking around. Like, I got to find it. I have an exam I have to take. So we're like, okay, top to bottom, we're cleaning this house. We're going to find the ID. I start in my little corner of the room. I'm going to start cleaning my stuff. I don't know why I would have it, but I'll find it. So he's like, I'm going to start in my corner. I'm going to clean my desk. He walks over there and he's like, Jesse? I said, yeah. He's like, come here. So he goes, stand in front of my desk. He has me stand facing his desk and he goes, just glance around. And I look down into my left and laying on top of the bookcase that sits like at his hip is his ID laying there face up on a stack of things. And I'm like, how did you miss that? He goes, swear to God, I didn't. He said, and I messed with those books yesterday. So if it was there, I would have found it. So then a few days later, can't find the broom. Where's the broom? The broom is where the broom always is. It's in the pantry. Sometimes we use it to sweep off the front porch. So we look outside, we look inside, we can't find the broom. And a couple days later, go in the pantry and it's leaning up against the trash can, like where the broom belongs. I was like, oh, hey, you found the broom. He's like, no, I haven't. I haven't been able to find the broom. And I was like, it's right here. Did you not put it there? He's like, nope, sure didn't do that. It's like, thank you, helpful poltergeist.
That's what I try to do too, is just be like, thank you. I'm going to just be real appreciative so that you don't do anything creepy.
Nope.
Or creepier than what you are currently doing.
Yep. What about you, Sarah? Do you have experience in relationships with the paranormal?
Like a
sure do.
Like a paranormal boner.
I thought you were going to say boyfriend, which would have made sense.
Story. The very first time that my brother-in-law Ben met my family, he said that word to my parents. He told a joke that my brother Grant had told him, and it had the word paranormal boner in it.
And they were like, yep, this is a keeper.
I don't even need to hear the joke.
I know, exactly. And everybody just sat there. And Jaylee my sister was so horrified. And I mean, I'm sure she probably at that moment was like, yeah, I'm going to marry him.
And Ben was delighted at her being horrified.
Yeah.
And that set the tone for the rest of their marriage.
It certainly did. And he's like, I thought that your parents knew how Grant was. And my sister's like, well, we do, but no one's ever told a spooky joke that had the phrase paranormal boner. Not at that stage in our life.
Well, yep. I don't know if I can top paranormal. This is a really hard thing to say. No. Paranormal boners. Sure.
But I demand that you try.
But try. Please do try.
Actually, no, I really can't. I have lived in apartments for the past 5 years, and I'm sure they have their ghostly tenants. But my house that I grew up in the same house all my life. It was still there. It's falling apart. Probably it was built in the 1800s, late 1800s. And the basement was very creepy. My parents moved into a house right after they had my sister out in the country. My great uncle had this farmhouse that they let them live in rent-free because they were struggling with money. And they wanted to buy it, but the house was just not great. I think that's why they didn't buy it. But one day my mom was at home with my sister. She was in the crib, and my mom was taking a nap in the bed, and my dad was at work. And I don't remember the story in full, but I do remember my mom telling me that the crib started shaking, and that's what woke her up. She never had another experience after that in that house, but she did have that experience. The house is gone now. Actually, it's we call it the house on the hill, which is a little spooky. But they tore that house down, and now there's just a barn there.
We should have recorded video for this episode, because literally hearing your stories every time makes me just facial reaction, ugh. Man.
Yeah. I remember one time at the Lincoln Theater, downtown Decatur. It's very haunted. And I danced at the dance center for 1 year, and then I went back to my old studio after that in Taylorville. And my class was in line getting ready to go on stage at the recitals. So they had the recitals at the Lincoln Theater. We were backstage. I was in my lyrical costume, so it was a dress. And I felt a tug on the back of my dress, so I looked over my shoulder. And it was like a bunch of girls behind me that like weren't good enough friends with me to like mess around with me, or and they weren't bullies, so like I knew that they didn't do it, so I just turned back around and was like, well, whatever, it's a ghost, it's fine. And then, Cassie, I was 13, and I had been watching ghost shows with my mom. I was like, whatever. So I turned back around and just read it off. And then it happened again. And I just turned around. The girl turned her head talking to some other girl. I just read it off as a friendly ghost, just trying to help me get ready for the stage. It was really cool, because I grew up like with all the Troy Taylor stuff. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but
No.
He's an author. He writes all the Haunted Illinois, Haunted Decatur, Haunted Alton stuff. He does the tours.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom was obsessed with him, and so I grew up like we went on tours, and like I heard all about him. I read his books for fun in elementary school. Like I was that kid, and so I knew all about the Lincoln and how haunted it was and everything, and was just like, whatever, it's fine.
It's fine.
Just
Just
a friendly
another
ghost.
day
Just
in a
another
spooky
day.
little business.
Yes.
Yeah.
We lived in a house like that when I was a baby. My mom, Dylan, was born, so I would have been 2-ish or under. And it had 2 floors, and the stairs had a door so that she could shut the door so I couldn't get up the stairs. And she kept coming home, and the door would be open. She's like, talk to the babysitter, talking to Jeff, you can't have the door be open. Like, Jessie will get on the stairs, she'll get hurt. And at one point, she realized the door was open and went upstairs because she was like, maybe someone's up here. Maybe that's what it is. And every window in the upstairs was open. And then, do you remember when we were kids and there was an earthquake?
Yeah.
So the earthquake happened when we lived in that house. She lost her damn mind, scooped us up, went to grandma's, and was like, the house is haunted, it's vibrating. We get there and it's like, well, there was an earthquake, so that's why. But she was like, I didn't go back.
Yes.
She sent Jeff back to pack up our stuff. She's like, nope,
You never went back to that house?
She's like, we can't live in that house anymore.
So then what? So
We
that's
stayed with grandma until we got a new place. We were renting back then.
okay. I was
Yeah.
like, how? Okay, because
Nope.
yeah, just
abandon the
renting.
house.
just like done. Nope, not doing it anymore.
It's on Jackson, right next to where Mrs. Reeder used to live. Like, that house is still there.
Ooh, I wonder if they have creepy stuff out.
I think the interesting thing about Sullivan and Decatur, really, because Decatur is a historic town, but Sullivan has so much history to it and all the historic houses. It's a small town in Illinois, but it's got a lot of history, which is pretty cool.
Well, they always talk about there was like certain houses that were on the Underground Railroad
Yes.
in Sullivan.
Oh,
and there's-
really?
Yeah. So it's just you are right. There's so much history.
I think I remember the little theater on the square doing a play of some sorts about the Underground Railroad when I was little.
Really?
So I think that's how I know. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure. I could be totally wrong, but yeah.
So we were in college. We would have been checked out from it at that point.
I think so too.
Yeah. I was in like 4th grade.
Yeah.
You guys were like 80.
We moved out already.
We were 45 when you were born.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were dealing with grandchildren at that point.
We already had our grandchildren. That
Fucking
is
boomers.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, I feel like maybe that weekend that she was born, we were actually looking at senior living facilities at that point already.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
That one with all the flowers?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. We should put a deposit.
And
down
go-karts.
there.
Yes. I have one more scary story. You guys want to hear it?
Tell it.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Do tell.
My friend Brandy, who's the godmother to my children, and we've been friends since high school. She's an atheist. She does not believe in an afterlife. She does not believe in spirits. Lived in a super duper haunted house in Mattoon. It's this big mansion, this 4,500 square foot place that's 3 stories plus a basement plus an attic, and there's always weird shit happening there. And she's just like, oh, this weird thing happened. Interesting, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never coming to your house after dark. Like, this is bizarre. So there's tons of them. The one that really got me, though. So our kids are about the same age, and she's got a video monitor on her oldest daughter's bedroom. And she said she wakes up and I hear her rolling around in the crib. And then when she's ready to get up, she's ready to start her day, she yells for me. She just says, Mom, or whatever. She said, but I usually am awake before that because my mommy spidey senses tingle and I can hear her rolling around is enough to wake me up. She said, so one morning I'm laying there and I'm hearing her walking around in her crib, and I'm hearing her moving around, doing her morning stuff, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, man, I thought by now she would have been yelling for me and da-da-da-da-da. She said, so I'm just kind of like laying there in bed chilling, and she goes, and then I just sit straight up because Helen is at my mom's. She's like, so I grab the monitor and look, and there's nothing in the crib, obviously. And I was like, oh my God. No. I was like, so when are you moving out? And she was like, oh, it's probably nothing. I'm like, B. And she sent me a video. She like took a video of the monitor because you could still hear it happening.
Nope.
I was like,
Nope. There's little. I always find it interesting hearing people ghost stories and little things. There's ways you can tell you have something in your house. Put flour by the door.
No. I don't think I want.
know.
I don't think I want hard proof.
I don't
You
know.
want to
I
know.
don't-
I know.
I don't think
I do.
If your kids are talking to somebody who's not there, if your animal is acting weird,
yeah.
and I've always think animals have a sixth or a seventh sense, and they always say, especially cats, they're connected to that whole part of the world or the realm. And so they sense and they know it before we do. So I'm talking to you, I'm getting chills about this.
That's why you have cats, isn't
So
it?
that's why I have
This
cats.
is why
and that's
Cassie has
why I
4.
and that's why I'm close to black cats. I always believe that the black cats are protection. I know people hate black animals and hate black cats. I do believe that black cats are very spiritual animals, and I love them despite what people say about them. In my personal experience as a child growing up, dealing with stuff like these, if you have kids, don't ever ignore them. Don't ignore the signs, don't ignore it. While we're not believer, we do live in a world where things are possible. Even in our everyday life, when we're so busy and we don't focus on it, we just go out and just ignore it all. But realistically, things are there. There is evil in this world. It could be through mankind, or it could be through a spiritual kind. How you deal with it, it's a whole different. How you deal with it is just up to you. But don't mess with things that you're not supposed to. Has a person come in from a very third world, very superstitious world, I've seen it, and you just don't touch things that doesn't belong, because the consequences is really you just don't like it. It's great, and it's not what it's. While you may think it's good intentions, it's not.
We're leaving Ouija boards at the door.
We're definitely leaving Ouija boards at the door. I don't believe in Ouija boards. I don't want to mess with Ouija board. It is a bad sign. I don't think you should be seeking out things that you're not meant to seek out. Definitely Ouija board out. Don't go. I mean, I know there's a lot of young kids, teenagers love stuff like that. Let's go talk in the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times. Please don't.
You know what else is out?
Just go make out with a scarecrow.
That's true.
That's never out. Exactly. That should always just be a thing. Also, don't make your kids wear winter coats underneath their costume. That needs to be on the list of nope.
Yep.
Don't be a bubble bath for Halloween.
Don't be a bubble bath for Halloween.
Yeah.
Do
Do be something where you can wear a nude skin suit.
yes, do be a troll.
Do be a troll.
And wear a basket of fruit on your head and be Chiquita Banana Woman.
Exactly. And walk with a Bible. It's not gonna hurt. Just throw it to somebody who needs it.
I'm gonna start throwing holy water at everybody.
Holy water.
Do you just
We need a
have
sign
holy
of the
water?
cross and holy water.
Andrew's like, yeah, I have it right here.
Like
I
right
was gonna say, I
here.
actually think we do.
Well,
The Catholic.
yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We're similar.
You can always count on the Catholic to have holy water.
Catholic.
Oh my gosh. You know what? For being a
Anniversary.
spooky episode, this was so fun.
Super fun.
It was.
Yeah.
And the scary stories actually were fun.
She's cringing.
A little bit. Just a little cringy.
I
but-
love how we've scared Cassie enough
Cassie's
in her own
not,
house.
Cassie's
to
not
not be
sleeping
here
tonight.
tonight.
Okay, I will tell you, my
she's about
house
to invite
does.
us all for a sleepover.
My house does not bother me. I will say this is why I purposefully don't watch scary things. Like, you guys all listen to podcasts and watch horror movies. Never have I been one. First off, I don't watch movies.
If I was
never.
single, I wouldn't either. Are
Yeah.
you fucking kidding me?
I did it.
I've
No.
never lived alone, but like when I was in college and I'd have a roommate, I'm not watching that shit unless there's
Never.
someone there or the sun is out.
Andrea and I are
That's
just
nothing.
like,
I'm the opposite. I love watching. I watch it by myself. I still do now.
Nope.
In the dark.
Nope.
I just love it.
I don't want to feel that way.
I don't.
I don't
It's
want
the
to.
excitement because I laugh at it. I do have to say, when I watch stuff with people, especially my husband and my brother, and I see them spooked out and scaring and screaming and grabbing me like I can help them, I just laugh at it.
Are we
because it's
all?
hilarious.
I think we're all second guessing our friendship with Andrea.
I know.
She's clearly
She's
demented.
really-
And Talia loves it that way too.
Yeah.
I really just don't I literally could.
my thought process in life is that really doesn't bother me. What bother me is things in real life, like people bother me.
That could get you.
because
Somebody
People.
there
mass
are
murderers,
That is
they're
a real
mass
thing.
murderer. That's what bothers me.
She doesn't.
I
The
don't-
fiction doesn't
the
trigger that in
fiction
her.
doesn't- Paranormal doesn't bother
Oh
me.
shit, that triggers me.
it triggers me, but I enjoyed being triggered.
Yeah.
She wants somebody to pluck that trigger. Trigger.
Let me reword that.
Yeah.
No,
No.
Sarah's new nickname
You're-
is Trigger.
You're not going to reword it, and that is going to go up as content as a quote.
I
know.
love being
therapist would
triggered.
kill me.
It triggers me, but I love being triggered.
We could talk about this for hours.
Yes.
So I don't even know where we go from here. Sarah likes being triggered.
You need a palate cleanser, so we have
I
to go
do.
watch Winnie the Pooh.
I think so.
That's what Maggie and I do
I
when,
need to go turn on
when
the
we watch
Phineas
something
and Ferb
scary.
was mine.
Phineas and Ferb's your palate cleanser.
This has been another episode of Left at the Door. It's spooky season. Be safe and don't dress your kids as fat winter coat costumes. Be kind. It's child abuse. It really is.
And pick through their candy and take the good stuff first.
That's the best stuff.
Be like, well, let me just look at your candy.
I gotta make sure
that
there's no
not
razor blades.
razor blades or guns inside
And this
there.
is
And we
why
need to taste it to make
This
sure
is-
it's not poison.
Mm-hmm.
this is why, even though I don't have kids, I'm friends with a lot of people who have kids.
You
For
take-
Halloween
you can
candy.
take all of
Yeah.
Jack's candy. Literally, Jack is a Tootsie Roll kid.
Tootsie Rolls are the bomb.
Tootsie Rolls are
and
good.
suckers. Everything else,
The
they're
fruity
so cheap.
Tootsie
he
Rolls?
doesn't ever want. So you can just have all of his candy.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well,
I'll
now that
come-
we've got
I'll
that
be
worked
wait-
out,
We
You
do.
buy on Halloween
it's
night.
time for dinner.
All right, let's
This
go.
has been
Left at the door.